How is it going, everyone? It's Nutty here, and I gotta be honest, I really thought about not doing a review for this. I even said I wasn't going to do a review for this, but here's the thing. I feel like I need to do a review for it in a way, because this is a game that is so bad, I actually could not finish it. And I feel like if you do have a game that is this bad, maybe you should warn other people about it. So today we're going to be talking about Scrat's Nutty Adventures, the Ice Age video game on the Nintendo Switch. This game is absolutely horrible. In fact, I would rather play Bubsy 3D than this game, because you know what? Bubsy 3D is a terrible game. It is an awful game. It's another game that I could not finish because it was so bad. I kind of wish I would have done a review for it, but honestly, you're never going to see me play it ever again, because I got that game out of my collection because I didn't want anything to do with it ever again. It's so bad. This game is worse. This game is actually worse than Bubsy 3D, because at least Bubsy 3D, it had bad controls, but it still technically is pretty playable, right? This isn't what I would even consider playable, because the frame rate is so bad that it is stuttering almost constantly. The characters on the screen, it's in HD, but it still looks fuzzy. It doesn't look right. It looks like someone's smeared something on the screen and the characters don't look right. I hate the way this game looks. The PS3 Ice Age game actually looks better than this game. In fact, I would actually say that the GameCube Ice Age game looks better than this game. This game just looks horrible. And then the actual frame rate issues it has along with it just add to the absolutely terrible nature of this game. And I think one of the worst things about this game is that they actually thought that people would replay it. They actually had the audacity to think that people would go back and replay this game, because you can unlock more abilities as you go on through the game, and then to go get certain collectibles, you have to go back and replay levels. You're going to be lucky to get through one play of this game. You're not going to do a replay, most likely. So this is a horrible game. You know, it's supposed to be a 3D platformer. I love 3D platformers. I am someone who actually loves 3D platformers. I consider myself a 3D platformer connoisseur. You know, it's one of my favorite types of video games, right next to racing games. But my goodness, this game sucks. It is so bad. And it has no charisma at all. There's no charisma to it. You know, the other Ice Age games, they actually had a lot more characters going on. You know, at least some charismatic voice acting, some settings that at least felt like they were inspired a little bit. This game is just boring. It has a terrible soundtrack. You don't even really notice it, but when you do, you wish that wasn't playing. It has a just terrible sound effects throughout the entire game. It doesn't do anything better than the other Ice Age games. In fact, it does everything worse. And overall, it just makes for a horrible experience. And that frame rate is the worst part about this game. It really is bad. But it's even worse when you take the console and you play it in handheld mode. I don't know how a game can even release in this condition, especially considering that the Switch Lite is a thing. Like, how are you going to get this for the Switch Lite and tell people that it operates correctly? It doesn't. This game plays so bad that I couldn't imagine even trying to play this all the way through on handheld mode, you know? Because I was getting motion sickness playing it in handheld mode because it's so stuttery and gross looking. So I don't know what they were thinking with this game. I don't know how a release like this even gets put onto console in this day and age. And the worst part is that this is the updated version. Apparently, before the update, it was even worse than this. So, I just don't get it. There was a lack of quality control, it feels like, when it comes to this game. I don't feel like they really cared a whole lot when it came to making this game. It seems like they're like, oh, we've seen other Ice Age 3D platforms, so let's make one ourselves. But then they just completely phoned in the Switch port. And this honestly happens with a lot of games from Outright Games, unfortunately, when it comes to Switch ports. A lot of their Switch ports, and they're not the only company who does this. Game Mill also has done this in the past. But their ports, they can be really sloppy on the Switch. Every now and then you play one that is surprisingly decent, but a lot of the times you will play a stuttering mess. And this has happened to me before whenever I tried to play Hotel Transylvania on the Switch. That was another game that was an absolute stuttering mess, and I could not play it in handheld mode because it was such a mess. So this game is a no-go. If you are somewhat interested in this game for some odd reason, try out the Xbox version or the PlayStation version, and hopefully you get a little bit better performance. sometimes that is the case. Sometimes it really is that they are just really lazy on the Switch ports. But either way, I don't recommend it because the game isn't good to begin with, and the stuttering just makes a bad game even worse. This is honestly probably one of the worst games I've ever played. It's not the worst. There's actually worse out there. There's an MX racing game, I think it's MX 2002 that I played on the Game Boy Advance. That game is worse than this, but this is not a good game. This is bottom of the barrel type of stuff here. Do not play this game. It sucks. and don't get this for anyone for Christmas, okay? This is the last Ice Age video game I have to talk about for this year. Thank God. I am done talking about Ice Age. I enjoyed the other games, but it seemed like after the Ice Age game I played on PlayStation 3, every single one from there has been just downhill. So I am glad to be done with it. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.